Good morning. Welcome to the Subtle Secrets of Pranayama, my 30-day challenge. This is day 18. Nice to be back. I took the weekend off and had a really lovely time with a wonderful group of students studying the neurobiology of embodiment. So please stay tuned for more about that because I hope I'm going to continue with it. I'm planning to continue with this work and hopefully have some online resources and potentially also maybe a book. I don't know. We're thinking about it. Okay, so for today, I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and the pollen has been like insane. It looked like it was snowing during my workshop because out the windows you could see all the pollen floating by. So been lots of stuff going on in terms of allergies, which made me think about what we really need to talk about, and we haven't got to yet, is the condition of your nose when you're doing pranayama. It's so important. I was at an ashram a couple of years ago, in Yogaville, the Sachinanda ashram, and so they do a lot of pranayama there, and they had tissues all over the room. It was like, just so you know, you might need some tissues before doing pranayama. And yeah, that's good, but there's other stuff you need to do to take care of your nose. And when I was in India, I learned they're so hardcore. It's like, there's the water in your hand, right up your nose and spit it out your mouth. And wow, that's intense, but I learned how to do it. I was using purified water for obvious reasons, but I can do that in the shower, and with hot water in the shower, I can get the water up my nose, and it's not that pleasant, I have to say, but because of the, it's not the right pH for your body, and there's chlorine in it. Well, I have a filter on my shower, but still there might be chlorine in it, whatever, that it's not necessarily the best way to clean out your nose. So I have some other alternatives I wanted to talk about, and you all know this, I'm sure, the neti pot, a quarter of a teaspoon of some table salt, and they say not to use sea salt, but I use sea salt. At any rate, a quarter of a teaspoon plus 8 ounces of pretty much body temperature water is the formula for that, and this goes through the nose a lot better than the shower, let me say. But sometimes I'm like, I don't have time for that, so I'm just going to clean out my nose in the shower. The other thing you can do is just get water up into your nose and not have it go all the way back to the back of your throat, but a little bit of water in the nose. Think about it, like Americans just have this problem with cleaning their orifices. We're good at our teeth and maybe our ears, but we're not good at our nose, and we're not good at the first chakra, and in India, they use water with all of their orifices and regularly to clean the stuff out. It makes a lot of sense. It's ama or toxins. You want to get that stuff out of your body. So it makes a lot of sense to use a neti pot at this time of year if you're, in an allergy place, a place where there's a lot of allergies, to help the nose be ready to do pranayama, because you can't do pranayama when you're blocked up. It doesn't work as well. Another thing that I like to use, my son really likes this one as well, is essential oil. This one is from doTERRA, but there's other great essential oils. And this one, like a drop of essential oil, or just smelling it like this, a drop on a please don't put it on your hands or your face, but a drop on a tissue and then smelling that can be really useful for cleaning out the nose and the sinuses before doing pranayama. So this is another great tool. And then there's my old favorite I've been using for 30 years or something, which is Tiger Balm, right? So Tiger Balm is a great, you can put it, it's warming, so you can put it on your chest and can help to alleviate some of the congestion, right, to help. So these are sort of some shorter term and longer term solutions. Do you know the history of the neti pot, by the way? I'm talking about the modern history, which is Oprah Winfrey is the reason why you know what the neti pot is for the most part. Maybe not you, but for the most part, most people know about the neti pot because Oprah did a show on it, and after that, neti pot sales just soared, and doctors started telling people to use neti pots, and so neti pots have been around for a long time, and it's not the only solution, but for many people, like I had somebody, a student who had chronic sinusitis, and he cured it with neti pot. So those are some suggestions. If you have suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Oh, hi everybody who's here. I'm saying hello. And so use those suggestions to help, excuse me, I'm feeling the pollen, to help clean yourself out before doing pranayama. It's so important, right? To be able to breathe. And one of the problems, as I've said many times, one of the problems with pranayama is that people are aggressive about it. It's that aggressiveness that causes the problem, it starts to cause problems in the physiology and the nervous system. So pranayama needs to be really subtle. Your nose should be clean. Another piece to this is, my teachers in India would say, use some, use some meditation as a way to get the nervous system still enough that the pranayama is going to work. And I think that's so brilliant and often not taught, and that's the way that I learned, and that's still the way that I practice, is I make sure I'm meditating for 20 minutes usually before I do any of the more, serious or powerful pranayamas, I should say. Okay, so for today, there's no problem for most people to go into a small ratio, and that's what we've been practicing. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the structural stuff that's going to help you with those ratios. But just to review again, and get your ratio going, because the more you do it, several times a day, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and then the more subtle effects of the pranayama you'll start to detect. So the ratio, I really love the 3-part Dirga pranayama with ratio. So lower belly, inhale to mid or the side ribs to collarbones. And then exhaling, you might exhale from the belly to the chest. That's a nice sort of simple exhale. And do 4, 5, or 6 as you inhale, 4, 5, or 6 as you exhale. See how that goes. We're going to talk about shifting those ratios a little bit over the next, got 11 more days of the challenge. So please leave a comment or a question. Especially, you can do that on Instagram Live, I think. Leave a comment here. But those of you who are watching on Facebook, please leave comments and questions. At the workshop this weekend, many people told me that, at least 10 people told me they've been listening to the Pranayama Challenge. And, sometimes I get no comments or no questions. I'm like, maybe I should stop doing this. So please give me some feedback so I know, because, you don't know if anybody's watching out there. So I know if it's helpful for you. I appreciate that. Okay, see you tomorrow. Namaste.